Carla Veriglati, and this is Rewiring with Carla V. Life can shift, sometimes suddenly, sometimes quietly. These are the conversations about the change that rearrange us, because you may not have chosen the rewire, but you still get to choose who you are and who you become. So let's get into it. I'm Carla Veriglati, and this is Rewiring with Carla V. Life can shift, sometimes suddenly, sometimes quietly. These are the conversations about the change that rearrange us, because you may not have chosen the rewire, but you still get to choose who you are and who you become. So let's get into it. This is Natasha Pearl Hansen. I was so excited. She's a comedian, actor, founder, and a speaker. She is also the founder and CEO of My Breakup Registry and the creator behind Hustle and Chill. And somehow I know not just what she hustles and what she builds or her chill, but who she is when life really gets real, because she's my friend. We're a family, which we'll talk about how that all happened, and connected forever by the Botasphere, which we'll get into what that means. So with further ado, I'm excited to welcome Natasha Pearl Hansen.
Thank you for having me. Yes. I love this studio. It feels like we're like in your house to a degree.
I hope
Got
so.
the picture of you and Porter in the corner. Definitely a statement about hate and rainbows. We need that more often. Love it. It just feels cozy.
And that's exactly what I'm trying to do, because it's a coffee about friends sitting in a space where we're not judging each other.
Yeah, exactly.
So and a little bit about you and your background before we kind of go into our Botasphere.
Yeah.
If you wouldn't mind sharing.
I'll share whatever.
Yeah. So like, how did you become a comedian? Like, how did this even happen? Like, and then how did you get into this space of then your TED Talk, I guess? That's a big...
Those are a lot.
That's a lot.
Those are a lot of questions. There's a lot of bullet points there.
Right.
Well, long story short, I think I shared a little bit of this with you guys at the house the other day, but I got into comedy on accident. On purpose. I knew I wanted to perform, but I was like secretly a minor in theater in college. I had a professor that just thought one of my raps on Shakespeare was so funny that she told me I should do improv.
Great.
And then that was back in the day when like Googling something was a new term. So I went back to my dorm and Googled comedy and improv and found my way to Second City, Chicago, found my way into stand-up. And then everything's just kind of transpired from there.
And that was an education in itself.
Mm-hmm.
So then you're in Second City, then you're in Chicago, you go to LA.
Yes.
And then after LA, you have a great successful tour. You have shows, right, out there?
Yeah.
And you did, before we get into Matthew and that connection, you did, unfortunately, that's where the breakup registry came from, really, right?
Well, yeah. So I'm kind of like, I live inside of a story that I want to share with people so that they feel like whatever they're dealing with, the bullshit in their life is less on them and more like relatable. Like, oh, I'm not by myself in this. So that's, the heart of what I do in my comedy is I talk about some of the hard things I've experienced. And like after every show, somebody comes up to me and they're like, I had a canceled wedding, or I had this, or I fed my grandma too many pot brownies. And like, I find out that people have done a lot of the same stuff. And so, and that's really what comedy is about. It's like relating to people, right? So Breakup Registry came as a spinoff of my first special when my wedding was canceled.
Okay. Right. Which another disruption that plan A didn't work, but we won't talk about that today, but yes.
Yeah. So in essence, wedding was canceled, shot the special, and then the pandemic hit while we were prepping to launch. Sorry if that's touchy for anybody, but
another plan.
It's like this part of our lives that we all kind of forgot about on purpose. Mm-hmm. So while we couldn't perform comedy, I was like, how can I help more people with breakups? So I built that to launch with my special. So essentially.
And it's amazing that it's a space to have for people who are going through that, because it's like you feel alone. Mm-hmm. When those plan A doesn't work, you do feel alone. So that you actually saw it and did something. Thank you.
Well, thank you for saying that. Yeah. I think breakups are interesting because they happen all the time and nobody really cares.
That's true, right?
Like nobody cares. Yeah. Like if you're like, I'm going through a breakup, like you're dealing with it like really badly by yourself. Like people have a little bit more sympathy or empathy for divorce because there's more paperwork involved in that. Sometimes there's children, house, like more things. But breakups can feel equally as difficult and bad. And you're just not really allowed to, I feel like it's entry-level grief, you know?
Right, but like, and you're supposed to be, I call it so human, normal human in society with all of these culture demands, what you talk about with the hustle and chill, and it's how do you then process all of that? And then on top of it, even when something, it doesn't matter how you feel, it's what's going on inside that person, and to create that space so you don't, because it's a terrible feeling.
Yeah, it's just, I think people in general are just carrying a lot. That's why like everybody is so tense all the time and there's so much anger on social media. And it's like, we need to just people need to blah, you know? And in comedy, we're lucky because we get to take that somewhere and it makes us a little bit more normal in society. You know, once you've been in comedy long enough, I feel like you're actually pretty acclimated well to society, or you're having the opposite experience. It's one or the other. You either figure it out or you're like having a very bad time. But because we get to like express our frustrations in a way that is so palatable for people, you know?
Exactly.
Which not everybody gets that. So like, what is everybody else's outlet? So sometimes that's just community connection. Not to diminish that and say but it really, you know, people need that. They need to feel like less alone, whether that comes from meetup groups or having a runner's club or going to a comedy show. It's all a part of how we can deal.
Exactly. It's all creating that space, like what we're doing here with rewiring. And so again, like sharing that. And so then through all of these circumstances, we both found ourselves in a situation where we knew each other in Chicago. You were coming back into Chicago. We were heading out of living there, but we had a very good friend who we shared. His name was Matthew Botas.
Yeah.
And we could share so many good stories about him. But then we left Chicago. But I would love to know like a little bit your connection with our good friend Matthew, just to give a little background about who he was, because I think you could describe him in so many better words, because your longevity with him was 20 years. He was your best friend, right?
Damn near, yeah. 17 years.
Yeah.
That's very long friendship.
Right, which, it's hard to rewire through a friendship too, but you did it with him and you guys were close. And but share that a little bit about Matthew, please.
Yeah, well, and I think it's important for us to talk about people we love that have passed, because, you know, they say you die twice. You die when you die, and then you die when people stop talking about you. So that's how you keep people alive, is you have stories about them.
But that's great though. But like,
so Matt had a lot of people that have stories. So thankfully he'll be alive for a long time.
Yeah, he will.
But I met Matt. I was bartending in Old Town. So this was out of necessity. I was working at Second City, Chicago. And this was in my early days of Second City, early days of, I hadn't even started stand-up yet.
Okay.
It was just before I started stand-up. Bartending, this is really funny. I needed a job so bad, and I was like right over in Second City one day, and I had tidy whities and a long t-shirt on.
Did it work?
Oh my God, I have so many stories like this. I have a chicken story. I think I put that in a newsletter, but anyway.
Oh my gosh.
So I was dressed like Tom Cruise from Risky Business on a Sunday, and I just walked into the bar across from Second City. It was tidy whities. It wasn't like just like cute underwear. It was like ugly, long boy, saggy underwear. And I walked to the bar and I was like, I need a job. And they were like, who is this clown? And they were like, yeah, you should work here. What are you? Right. And so I got this bartending job only on Sundays at first. And that's how I met Matt. He lived down the street and he would come in and he was a regular. And I was like the only person, because he would sit and have so many whiskeys. I would at least give him like one for free.
Right.
Which I was new. So that was like not okay to do. But
right.
I was like, this guy's spending a bunch of money. So he would tip me really well. And I was like, oh, that's how that works in bartending. You give somebody something for free, you get a bunch of extra money, which is stealing. That is theft.
That is theft, right. But yeah, it does feel like thieves. Yes.
But I was thieving in the name of my future very good friend. So that's fine. But Matt was, he was such a good regular, which you don't really just become friends outside of work with regulars like that.
No.
But there was like, sometimes I'd get done with a shift early and I'd go sit outside with him and he would bring all his like former army buddies in or whatever. And they were all just like interesting jarheads that did jobs I didn't really understand.
Always.
And so I would like sit with them after and just like, you know, chat with them. And then when I quit working at that place, AKA got fired, then Matt would be like, oh, we should go to a Cubs game together, or we should go to this. And so our friendship really started after I left that bar.
Okay. So, oh my gosh. And he had this way about him. I think everybody knew him. And so he was very charismatic, and he was one of the smartest people I knew.
Yes.
So listening to whoever was in his circle that he would bring around, which are always people that you learned and felt welcome.
I don't know what it was about him, because he had this business brain, but he was a connector, and my brain kind of works similarly, and so I was just always like, I like how this guy thinks, but I could never really put a pin in like how he thought or where his information was coming from. I was like, he knows a lot. He knows a lot of people. I have no idea what the fuck he does for work.
Right. Same.
It was like one of those friendships where I like never understood his job, but I was like, I don't really need to understand. I like this guy.
But he always made you feel he got your back.
Safe. He always made you feel safe.
Right. And how many relationships, when you think about it, and how many people you've met, because you've had crazy stories, done crazy things, that really give you that sense.
Yeah.
Because he gave that to everybody.
Yep. Well, and he was a decade my senior. So like when I became friends with him, I was 22. He would have been like 31 or 32.
Okay.
And so I felt like I could trust him like an older brother figure. So I just kind of always like pegged him as like my big brother.
Yeah.
So, he was such a pivotal part of my young life in Chicago, because I would go out with him any chance I could because I knew nobody would mess with me. If anybody did, he would just give them a look and they would just leave me alone.
Oh, yeah.
Like he was never going to be like a blocker if I was like meeting guys or something, but he was going to make sure that like nobody bothered me. And then all the time I was in California, we just stayed in touch. He was the first person I saw after my breakup with my ex-fiance. He was in Palm Springs, and I drove like the day after breaking up and like hung out at this house with him and his friends and just drank, pina coladas in the pool.
Right, because that's how it was. It was always he was there in the time of need. It was just he did that for a lot of people, as we knew. Then it kind of December of 2025. Right? Or
2024.
2024, excuse me. We're in 2026.
I know. That's what's weird. Yeah.
That is weird.
Just over a year.
Yeah. And I guess what happened for you? What do you remember, or what do you want to talk about with when you found out that Matthew had died? I guess. I don't even know. How do we talk? We
never really discussed what that day looked like for us both. So that's kind of a cool thing to do right now. Well, so Matt and I always had the friendship where, like, if I was out and about, if I was leaving the house for even 10 minutes, I would text him and see where he was, because he was just everywhere and nowhere all the time.
He was an enigma in that. You never knew.
He was all over the place, and you could never find him.
Right. but he knew where you were.
Yeah. So I happened to text him because he passed the day before Christmas Eve, December 23rd, 2024. So that was a Monday, if I'm correct.
Yes.
No, it was a Monday.
Yes.
I know for sure it was a Monday. So that Thursday, I had texted him and I was like, hey, where are you? And he's like, I'm at Volare, which is an Italian restaurant down the street from my place in Chicago. And I was like, I'm coming by. And he's like, yeah, come by. So I crashed a dinner he was having with our friend Mikey. And I just sat down in the middle of their dinner and joined the dinner, and totally normal for me to do. And we hung out for hour and a half, 2 hours. And he was like, you want to meet up Monday? That's how I remember it's Monday. He's like, you want to meet up Monday and have like some chats about business stuff? And I was like, yeah. Then I knew on Friday, that next day, he had fallen and slipped outside of somewhere. It was winter. It was icy. Didn't think anything of it. Called to check on him. He didn't sound the greatest, but we were planning to meet up Monday, and I was like, oh, he's just going to rest it off. Like, he probably hurt himself. But, and then I got the call on Monday at like 2:30 or 3 p.m. from Lynn, his partner of 20 years. She called me, and you know that feeling you get when you have a phone call like that. Like, I saw her number come up. I had her number, but we didn't call.
Right.
So my immediate thought was like, something happened, but I did not for the life of me think that he had died. And I picked up that phone, and my boyfriend was sleeping in the bedroom, and like afternoon nap kind of vibes. And I was like, hey, Lynn. And she like made small talk with me for a moment, like you do when you don't know how to deliver bad news? And she was like, I don't know how she made all those I don't know how people make these phone calls, but you just have to. You kind of like clock out of reality for a bit and just deliver the news. And so she just asked how I was doing and what my plans were for Christmas Eve. And I was like, we're heading to Wisconsin in the morning. And then she goes, I didn't think I was going to get sad, but she was like, well, we lost Matthew. Well, I'm not mean to laugh, but like when somebody says that, you're like, where did he go?
Right. Like, what do we, because you don't expect him.
You're like, well, just find him.
Right.
He's an adult. Like, you can probably track him down. Like you hear these words and you're like, well, that can't be what she means, know? And like, I remember being I was like, what do you mean? She's like, yeah, he passed away today. And I dropped to my fucking knees and just like sobbed on the phone with her. And like, and I was like, how, what, I was like stuttering. I was like, what happened? How, and then I apologized to her for like losing my cool on the phone because I knew she had to keep her cool too.
Right.
So I was like, I'm really messing up here. I'm getting too emotional. I better lay off. But yeah, it was that was how I got the news. And then I started calling everybody else to see if they knew. And I'm curious what your experience was.
Ours was similar. Like we had met Matthew through a group of friends at a location at Chicago, in State in Illinois. And so Jim, another gentleman that we were all friends with. So, we have girl group, guy group, but we were mixed. It was girls and guys together. And
all these group chats and
everything. And so Jim had called Porter, my husband, and said, and like you, it was like, you have something, but you didn't expect that he had died or he was gone. And it was 2 days before Christmas Eve or the day before.
Day before.
And so that really changed everything, really, that Christmas. And so then also from like a arrangement standpoint, because it was so unexpected. I think, he was young. He was 50 years old. And a lot of people come into 50s as their prime. And so like, it then with the holidays and then being expected, there was a lot of unknown for a long time until his ceremony was in January. It was over Martin Luther King weekend because he had so many people around the country. And unfortunately, I missed it because I had another friend who passed. And so, I mean, of all things, how do you do that? And so I wasn't even there for all of that. But even now, even you and I think we even just had a year ago, like just a couple weeks in a year, just his memory is still in me. And he lives through me and lives through you, obviously, and which has led to your next step of how to deal with this grief, because your grief being he was your family. Family comes in different forms.
Oh, big time.
And that really, I think, then you took some time. You shut down. I mean, after you took 30, 45 days.
Yeah.
Right?
As you age, that's the beauty of things. Actually, I sat down with Lynn after losing my dad and had this exact conversation with her. Lynn is Matt's partner of 20 years. I said, the nice thing about aging is you become more equipped to deal with bad news. Which the shitty thing about it is there's a lot more bad news. But that's that is the juxtaposition of time and learning how to handle hard things. With Matt's loss, it hit so hard that I cleared my schedule for 6 weeks. I was like, I just can't perform. Usually I can start to muster some stuff up and start to feel out some stuff on stage, but it was such a shock. Yeah. And I really struggled with what to do in 2025 because I was like, there's something in me that just happened from all this that I can't, I have to figure out how to express it. And that's when I started my newsletter. And that was the first thing I started when I was coming out of that initial grief. We had just had the celebration of life for Matt. And I was like, I think I'm ready to talk about what chilling and hustling looks like. Because I had to stall my hustle that Matt was a part of heavily. He was like part of my masterminding of everything that I was doing and just a big connector piece. He was just a big piece of my life. And learning to take the time you need is so important because we are in a culture where we do get pushed through these things. Bereavement, you have 2 days in some job, like what?
And it doesn't, you might
somebody died that means the world to you and you get 2 days. Like that's insane.
Right. And there are 2 days of who might be important into like the government's eyes. And you're like, wait, they were important to my heart.
Yeah. Like you're cellularly different after somebody really important to you dies. And and I don't think you're ever quite the same, and it's okay. Yeah. But yeah. And then that's when I was offered a TED Talk too. And it just timed out.
So that's where so now obviously, why we're sitting here is because you took plan A didn't work. Then you're explaining your messy middle right now, the 6 weeks. But you took time and you said this was okay, but you had to realize, hey, I can't hustle. That also in itself kind of messes with you. Right? It messes with me for sure. Because I'm like, wait, I should be doing, but I can't function.
Yeah. I used to very much be one of those people that would run myself into the ground because you have to in the early days of comedy. I mean, you have to your entire career of comedy. It just changes at some point that the hustle becomes less about you just spinning your wheels and more about forward momentum that's actually doing things.
Right.
I would try to push through anything, even if I was sick. There were shows that I would do the first time I played the Royal George Theater in Chicago was 11 years ago, and I had horrible flu. And I was throwing up backstage, writing my notes, sweating, and then got on stage and performed and got off and fell asleep in the green room because I was dying.
Right. And that's unhealthy. I've done things like that, but you know that, right? But I know we all do things, but you have to take a break too.
Learning that about yourself and saying, okay, my body actually can't produce at its highest level if it is falling apart. Whether that's your emotions or your physicality, whatever it is, you've got to make sure the engine is working. Otherwise, it can't function.
Right. But somehow I try to ply through that.
Yeah.
And so I applaud you for stopping. So then the hustle and the chill was all there. And then you started writing after he left. And so that was your spark, your rewiring moment, right? And then also then the TED Talk, that was on your vision board. You wanted a TED Talk.
I did.
Okay.
That was the interesting thing about that is I had wanted to do a TED Talk. It was on my thought radar for a while. Right. But Matt had just passed. It was January. I got invited to some creator event at a Cameo Studios in Chicago. They have a headquarters there.
Okay, I'm not much, yeah.
Cameo is if anybody knows, it's where you can, famous people or creators or whatever, you can pay them to make videos for you. So I used to be on Cameo.
Oh my gosh, that's good.
And then I was I don't like this, and I got off it.
Okay, but thanks for being on Cameo. This is great, my Cameo.
So Cameo was having an event in January, weeks after Matt passed away. And I didn't want to go because a lot of creator events, I'm between LA and Chicago. Creator events can be annoying. A lot of people that need a lot of attention in one room is horrifying.
Right. And you recognize that and you're do I have it?
I didn't want to go, but I did because I was maybe you just need to meet one person that's cool. And that's always been my thing. If I'm going somewhere, I'm just find one person that makes you feel this doesn't suck. And then it doesn't suck, Yeah,
and you keep trying.
Yeah, just one cool person, one cool story, then you can leave. So I ended up sitting next to this guy that was by himself. And I make this rule when I go to networking type things that I don't even ask anybody what they do.
I love it.
I don't have that a part of my slate. If they want to ask me, fine. But I do not ask people because I'd rather see how they are as people.
Agreed.
Don't give a shit what you do if you suck to be around. And I just don't equate who people are by their job. Hence, even Matt, I didn't really ever understand his job. He was just my best bud. Right. So I don't care how you make your money.
Yeah. So what was your question? I don't know that.
So I sat down next to this one guy and talked to him for 45 minutes. He was just by himself and I was there by myself and he was an older guy. And I find out later he's a New York Times writer.
Oh, okay.
So people kept coming up and interrupting our lovely conversation about our lives and our families to try and get his information. And I was oh, somebody knows something about what he does. And then I went and sat on the stage of this place and talked to this girl for another 45 minutes. And we also didn't ask who each other were. And lo and behold, we exchange information. She's the curator of TEDx Chicago.
Okay, wow.
So I had been talking to her about how I had just lost my best friend and I didn't even want to be here. And I was wearing my shiny green pants. I was wearing shiny green pants that night. I was like, I'm wearing these green pants so that people that think these are cool will come and talk to me and that I don't have to put any work in.
But you're right. Yeah, these are all the little things to get through that, right?
Yeah. I was like, I'm going to wear my disco pants and if anybody thinks they're cool, they can come find me.
Between the risky business, green pants, we got to know all your outfits sometimes.
Yeah, the
just
outfits
not
are really the thing.
Yeah.
So that was, her and I became friends and she put my hat in the ring for TED, knowing what I had been through and the stuff that I was working on. And it was really organic. Okay. I did not try for it at all. So kismet, because Matt had been wanting me to do a TED Talk. So how beautifully, heavenly ironic that I would accidentally get one after losing him, and losing him inspired the entire thesis of the talk, you know?
Yeah.
And it released a year to the day of his death. Ted did I was an editor's pick and Ted emailed me and was like, your talk is going to release on December 23rd of 2025. And I sobbed because I was like, that is 1 year to the day.
Timing. Fate. Call it a divine intervention.
Yeah, it was, that to me, that was so beautiful.
And I was there at yours. So again, even us, Matthew used to always say, you got to meet my friend Natasha. She's amazing. You're amazing. Because he always believed in everybody.
Yeah.
He wanted everybody to share successes.
Yeah.
He hated when you couldn't be around people who didn't.
Yeah.
And so he always tried to curate that. And he's like, our timing just wasn't right, like we mentioned. And we were.
Yeah, like ships in the night.
Right. And then us sitting here now. Mm-hmm. And then even going to your TED Talk on our friend Matthew. And you, obviously, we had no idea what you were going to talk about. We're like, we got to be there. Because even if it wasn't about Matthew or Inspired, he would have been there.
Yeah.
And so Porter and I, Sarah, B, we all came. Mm-hmm. Shivani came. We just because, and then this is how you find out when people don't do it. I found out how famous you are. All these people are like, oh, do you know Natasha? Because I'm thinking you just hung out with her down at the gym. And they're like, no, we follow her. She's got comedian specials. I was like, I guess she does. But we're just friends.
I know. Well, and I don't even think about myself. When you've been doing something for so long, you don't think, you're like, I'm still delighted when people know or like anything that I do. Because it's been such a long trajectory. So if I meet somebody and they're like, I love your stuff, I'm like, oh my God.
Right. We're geeking out about your fan club.
Thank you. I forgot I have a lot of stuff out there.
You really do, and you do it well. And so with that, we got to see your stand-up. And so what was the thesis of your TED Talk first before we go into how I felt when we saw you there?
Oh, yeah. The process of writing a TED, because that was so daunting. To really think about how you want to write a talk well, because nobody writes it for you. There are people that figure out how to get in to do a TED Talk and hire people to write for them. Mine was organic. I didn't want to ask anybody's input, really,
Oh, wow.
The TED team did markers every month to just meet up with you and check in and see how things were.
Right.
But I had mapped out all this stuff and I was like, I really want to talk about how I've used laughter to heal through grief. But I didn't want to use the word grief because I feel like it's very triggering for people. It's a very heavy weighted word, grief, I don't like to say it. And there were a lot of TED.
Even your face goes grief.
I know. It's
blech,
right. It already. So I was like, I need to get the point across about how you're dealing with grief, but not say the word. And I need to use stories and anecdotes to share what I'm trying to get across rather than just telling people how to do something. Mm-hmm. I need to show it with my stories.
Exactly.
So then I started just putting together a string of stories that I thought would map out initially a story that I had been through, but then I moved it into other people's stories and then tied it back into our Matt community and his story at the end because I thought that was just such a beautiful, but I put a lot of work into curating this. Every sentence mattered.
It did. But did that help you through that rewiring, this whole process? So you're talking about that 6 weeks, you took a break and then you got introduced and you had a month and then you had about 6 to 9 months. How long was that timeline?
I found out maybe March or April that I'd been selected.
Okay.
The talks were end of September and then it didn't get released global until December.
But even for you emotionally going through that, you say like that became your thesis of it. And like, so was that like kind of a healing process for you to put it out there?
Insanely.
But you didn't see it that way.
No, I definitely did.
Oh,
like
okay,
when I was offered the talk, I was like, this was because when I was like down for those couple of weeks, I was recentering a lot and I was praying. I was just asking God, I was like, what do I do with this year? Like, I know that I'm supposed to shoot another special. This is not the year to do it. I just don't feel like this is the year to do it. What am I supposed to put out artistically this year? And then like my newsletter just came to me, and then like the TED Talk was, and I was like, cool, this is what I get to channel my creative energy into right now.
Right.
And it felt so aligned and so authentic.
Yeah. And it was.
Well, and it helped me, and I knew that through the stories that I was sharing in it, that it would help a lot of people, you know? And that was kind of the goal, is to make it applicable to many, not just share. I feel like I watch a lot of TED Talks where it's just like, I do this and I save the whales. And like, I'm not trying to make fun of them. That's like, sorry for the whale lady.
No, right.
But like, it's like, okay, everybody understands your accolades. Like this should be a toolkit for people.
And it definitely was. So we were there. You got a standing ovation. And not even feel bad for the whale person. We felt bad for the person after you. Very great scientist. But it was like, yours was, everybody can feel it because we all go through it. We all go through when that plan A, the messy middle, and then coming out. And you killed it. You got a standing ovation. It was amazing. Like, clearly, and that's why the editors picked you. But it also, I think, post what happened from that is how many people then came to you. And your grief and your hardship led to a lot of people's hope.
Yeah. I mean, it was kind of a cool, like, I have screenshots in a folder every time I release something from the messages I get, because it's like something that'll keep me going when I'm having a hard time. I'm like, remember, the shit that you do helps people. So like when I did my first comedy special and it was on the canceled wedding and I was filming the background of it, and my mom, my dad, and my grandma and I were like setting up the venue like it was a wedding. And like, I got so many messages from people then. I'm going through a divorce right now. I just went through a breakup. And I mean, it was just for months. And I was like, oh, me being open about this really helped other people feel like they had a buddy.
Right.
And TED was the same way. I've gotten so many messages. I just have them all screenshotted in a TED folder because I'm like, this is just really nice to see how it's impacted people or made them feel like they've been able to laugh about something maybe for the first time since a really difficult thing has happened in their life. And so, yeah, it was cool.
And I think that just speaks of how good, and this is what we're doing here today. And like the show is like we all have it, to go through it, see it, but then to have awareness and share it. And you make a difference in like with us in that community, and you give me hope to like, that's why I'm like, so again, that's why I'm like, let's throw this out there. You do it and it makes a difference, but it also helped. Besides that, do you think there's other tools? Like, what tools would you share that like anybody can do if they're going through like we did talk about breakup, but any kind of grief or loss? It
is so different for everybody, and that's even why, as I've been trying to figure out how to like build I think that's why having conversations about it with many people is so helpful, because the toolkit, you have to kind of, like any toolkit, you've got to like take this hammer from this person and this person's and like kind of concoct your own recipe of what works for you,
Which is true.
There's like grief is weird. Like it, like sometimes it hits you like a ton of bricks, like with Matt, that was like so unexpected. With my dad who just passed, like we were in the hospital for a month leading up to that. So like you're grieving ahead of time in a weird way, and your anticipatory grief, like it's all weird. But I think the more people can be open about their experiences, whether that be divorce, breakups, cancer, miscarriages. I mean, there's a lot of these things that are really common that happen to so many people that a lot of people don't even pay attention when they do, because they're like, that happens to everybody. And then you feel like really alone.
Right. And alone, not alone like you're like by yourself, but alone in your head.
Yeah.
Right.
And I realized that like a lot of these things aren't that different. Like I'm not comparing like a loss of like a miscarriage to a breakup of a boyfriend of a month. That's not what I'm doing.
Right.
But I'm saying people are dealing with these things and wearing them on their shoulders like this heavy backpack all day and having to just interact with the world as if nothing's wrong.
Right. And it feels like a weight to you or them who is carrying it. Yep.
And everyone's carrying it differently based on everything that they've experienced in their life up to that point and the tools that they do have and the community that they have, And so the more we can open up conversations about it, and that's why, even talking about stuff on social media can be helpful.
Right.
Not that that's always the way to go, but
exactly.
But like, people can find and discover and say, oh, at least there's a community for that, or other people have experienced that. And then, they feel like they don't have to deal with everything just in their own little bubble.
Which, right, is so helpful, and to give them that space. So do you think that's really, as you say, as somebody who's in it, would you be that the message you give them? Like, you're in that messy middle right now, but, there are different things that are going to help get out of that, right? Like in the hope and the...
Yeah.
Is that the tool you're talking about, just to open it? Or would you give more, like what advice would you give somebody who just went through something, whatever that situation is?
Yeah, I mean, I struggle with wanting to give advice as a whole just because I...
Love that, right.
I'll just tell you what works for me. And if it works for you, great.
Exactly.
I find that when I'm in my lowest of low, like when I lost Matt or when I just lost Dad, even if I don't want to leave the house sometimes, but you do have to take care of yourself. You got to listen to your body. If you're having like a really terrible day, it's fine. You stay in the house.
Exactly.
Like, don't put that on other people. Don't go to a bar and just sob. But that's also fine if you do.
Yeah.
But when I got back from the hospital and Dad had just passed, this was a couple weeks ago, I made a point. You flew into Chicago and hung out with me. I made a point to take my list of my favorite women, and that was bullet point by bullet point who I saw every single day for that first week I was back. I saw all my favorite people that first week.
I love that.
And it was just reminding myself that I have this these wonderful friends that are total rocks for each other, that are willing to have fun and laugh. And if you need a moment, they're going to do that. But like, nobody's trying to distract you, but they're just trying to remind you that like life can be enjoyed even when it's really bad. Mm-hmm. I think that's you have to realize those things happen simultaneously.
Exactly.
Life can really suck right now, and you can still find some joy, and you don't have to feel guilt about that. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people struggle with that. Like, oh, so-and-so just died. I can't go out and like laugh and have a beer with somebody. No, you can.
No.
It's probably good for you.
Right, exactly.
I mean, if you shouldn't drink, then maybe don't have the beer. But you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But like those happen, those are not exclusive,
Right, you're right. And then you feel like even the grocery store, you got out, you went to the grocery store and you're like, I'm miserable. Everybody around me is happy. They have no idea. They can't see your pain. Mm-hmm. So you always have to assume, like what you said with the back, like, so, and I love that of just the bullet points of getting out and seeing those people. So when you have the strength to leave your house, make sure it's like that circle of your trust, or you're going to get energy from.
Yeah,
like
people that you really love.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to be upset that you went out to see somebody you really love.
Always, because those are the people who, in my experience, you're a group, like they're always there for you.
Yeah. Well, and also you're reminded when you lose somebody that is so pivotal to your life that life is fleeting. And like, you should make sure to make time for the people. I've always been like that. Like, I've been wired like that since I was young. Like, my people are my everything.
Yeah.
But especially this time, I was like, this was such a hard month already that like, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm going to see the people that I need to see right now and make time for them immediately, because like that way, if I get hit by a bus next week, they'll know that I made time for them.
Right. But also, too, with you said with your dad, grief shows up in different stages.
Yeah.
And at different times and in different moments, and are last long or short. And I think you have to know yourself and accept, like you have to just say, it's okay, I'm human, I'm trying.
Yeah.
So, but I think we're so hard on ourselves, you're not allowed to. to do that sometimes either.
Yeah. Well, and I think because of all these like textbooks and, people think that the stages of grief like show up in a certain order, and they can all just happen in one singular hour. Like
they do. I don't mean to laugh, but it's awful. Yeah.
Well, and like I'm finding a lot of my humor path after my dad is very different. Matt blindsided me, and I didn't find anything funny for a while. With my dad, because we were in the hospital with him and we weren't expecting him to pass either, but we're like on this emotional roller coaster with him. And then his body is going through a lot. And there was a lot of moments that were like actually really funny. And then we got to like, his personality was there until the very end. And so like I was kind of threading through all these moments, like thinking, okay, if he is going to die, if we don't receive some sort of miracle, hang on to these like little moments. And so because I was able to kind of grieve in advance, like I got out of that feeling like, okay, this happened. We knew it was going to happen, but we kind of bargained. I was like going through the processes of grief like every single day.
Yeah, exactly.
Leading up to when he died. So, I mean, it was just they're all so different.
They are. But the tools that you did share, we appreciate so much. And really appreciate everything, like how, I hate that Matthew's not here, but I believe he's pushed us to be together.
Yeah.
And I know he lives within me more than he did when he was alive.
Yeah.
And I have guilt and weirdness about saying that. So I love how you take the Botasphere family, because there's a lot of us now, and you just say, I think this is the right saying, and so please tell me if this is wrong, but it's like we do the hard things, but we don't do them alone.
Yes. Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. And
I think that's, he was like that, but you have then take that message and you're spreading it in a really good way.
Well, I think we all are. Like in his passing, you can't ever get back the relationship you had with somebody. But because we all had that individual relationship with him in our own ways, I think this is like the coolest. And this is why I included it in my TED Talk. But like we all came together and have formed this giant, his last name Botasphere. So like in losing one person that was pivotal to all our lives, we all became a part of each other's lives. And I think that is like, you can't even write that.
You can't. And so it's like, it's just, when you listen to those signs, even if it's not plan A, we want him here.
Yeah.
It didn't work. You found through it. We both did in different ways. But every day I'm like, how can I keep sharing? Because I don't want, we're both in different ways creating spaces that you're not alone. We see you and we're here for you.
Yep.
And please continue to spread your message, because we all need it, your hope and living of it. And find Natasha Pearl Hansen on every channel and get her newsletter, Hustle and Chill. It's amazing. I read it every week. And she talks about all life things, not just the heaviest, but everything that you don't feel like you're alone when you're like when she talks about bodysuits, I'm like, thank God. As a woman, thank God. Yeah, so you'll enjoy it, but find us all. And with that, today has been Rewiring with Carla V. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was really, that flew by.